Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Khorasan, the Caliph, and the Corruptor, a series on Islamic eschatology. Today, let's discuss Dhul Qarnayn and sacred physiology. In the last episode, we discussed reading the Quran in different ways, and reading scripture, different ways of thinking about literary analysis and applying it to the Quranic and Hadith materials in order to derive meaning and practical insights. So, as I was thinking about the possibility of Lao Tzu being a prophet and certainly a wali, and he's a sheikh because he's the old man, because he rode on the back of a bull who has two horns, sitting in meditation all the way across China in some of the ancient stories, and then all through the West. So and then there are stories about him coming back later. So we've got these different stories about a sagely mystic master, a king of the world, a caliph of the earth, riding from east to west and west to east, and perhaps from north to south and south to north, because he was a librarian. He had a voracious appetite for knowledge and deriving insight through intuitive reason, through sitting in stillness, in meditation, and coming into egoless flow states, going into harmony with nature, going in harmony with the way. So when I was thinking about these things, and I was spending a lot of time in Sajda, I was doing dark retreats and a lot of fasting, dry fasting, traditional som, water fasting, and pouring my heart out on the carpet. Prior to all this, I'd done a three-week Salah retreat at the foot of Mount Ararat, one of the two mountains associated with Nabi Nuh alayhi salam. And I was Allah put me into a very, very vulnerable state. And so I started to have these insights that then, as soon as I began ziyarat, they arose, and I started understanding a physiological reading of the Quran. And we can read a lot of ancient materials physiologically, and I don't really get into deep esoteric studies. I've never been into studying the occult. Much of what I've learned has been that Allah has put me into different situations and scenarios where insights arose or unfolded in some interesting ways. So, considering this aspect about the two horns, I had this insight related to body directionality. So we've got the right hand is Yaman, so Yemen, so south. So the right hand is the south. The left hand is Sham, is the north. So in body directionality, when we could read the Quran physiologically, where here's the right hand, Yemen, left hand, Sham. Then we've got, when we face forward with our eyes, that is the east. And this is the direction from which the sun rises, Khorasan, so to speak. And also, so this is the east of our body. And so that automatically puts the west of our body as the spinal cord in the back of the body, Maghrib. So this is very interesting. And the sun of Islam shall arise from the west in the end times. So this is very interesting. So now we've got this. And then I had heard some of the Sufis speak about the heart is the Kaaba, and that we need to remove all idols from our heart, and so this is interesting. And so then I started thinking a little bit about these. I started meditating on these understandings, and then it connects to the white minaret, the white menorah hadith. I'll discuss that in a moment, inshallah. But going back to Dhul Qarnayn. So who is Dhul Qarnayn? He of two horns. Well, I started thinking about the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. Now, in the Tibetan Buddhist tantric tradition, they have a different way of disposing of bodies in Tibet, because there's permafrost. This is the highest inhabitable area of the world that I'm aware of, the Tibetan Plateau. And it's just permafrost over most of the Tibetan Plateau year round. It's over 14,000 foot, most of it, above sea level. And so this is very, very interesting, because they can't just bury bodies typically. They also don't have enough wood to do cremation in the style that you see in ancient India. So They would dispose of bodies sometimes by dropping bodies down into ravines and gorges and to flow away in the rivers because the rivers were far below. And then in certain instances, they would leave bodies exposed to the elements and to the vultures high up in the mountains, which is similar to what the Zoroastrians had done on their towers of death. So they did something similar, and there were influences from the Persians. We'll discuss that in some other videos, inshallah. So they would take the bodies and lay them out to be exposed. And then sometimes there would be a meditation master. What they would do is after the flesh was stripped clean from the bones, then they would take the bones, they would collect them maybe a few months later, a few weeks later, and they'd further clean them and then package them and bury them under stupas as sacred objects, holy relics, for places of meditation and prayer within their tradition. And this is one of the wild things, they would take femurs and turn them into horns. So a femur bone could become a horn that they would blow to in ritual contexts, as part of, because some of them do ritual magic, and so these would be used as magical musical instruments. They were femurs. So 2 horns would be the 2 femurs. Also, he who goes between the different directions, between east and west, between west and east, north and south. So we walk in that direction, facing toward, so anyway, so I started seeing that it could potentially be the femurs, the femur bones. Then, so the Dhul Qarnayn of our body could be seen as the femurs of the body. Next, we come to, when you look at a book of anatomy, you will notice on the chest, where the ribs meet, you have this cartilage here at the sternum. And if you notice where the sternum begins, in the heart region, extending up to the collarbones, and then the 2 collarbones across, it looks like a bull head. So you have the head of a bull, and then the 2 horns. So this is a very interesting insight. So we've got the 2 horns is within the chest region. Now the sternum. What's happening in the sternum? You actually have some glands behind the sternum, right in front of the heart, and that are related to the lymphatic system and to the immune system, the bodily immune system. Also, inside the femurs, you have it's connected to the production of white blood cells. I'm not an expert on these things, but it's something to look into. So what am I suggesting? This is interesting because we've got the femurs and we've got the sternum and the collarbones and a relationship with the immune system. Now also the red cells of the body, the blood cells, make tawaf through the heart. Now I've even seen videos where some scholars have said that originally, one of the original redesigns of the Kaaba was going to include a door and the pilgrims would actually go through the Kaaba, which is interesting. So if the heart would be the Kaaba of the body, then we actually have, and you've got the four chambers of the heart are like the 4 corners of the Kaaba. And so one is toward the Yemen side. So they go in the directions, all right? So what I would argue, I looked into it, and the black stone of the body would be in that area of those glands related to the, maybe they're the thymus glands, something like this. I'm not an expert on these things by any means. But these are just some insights that arose in Sajda as I contemplated and as I asked Allah for guidance. And, we're a collaborative tradition, so we should collaborate to better understand these things. I know some people might disapprove of these things, but if the Quran is the truth and pointing us toward the truth, we should seek as many different ways of reading it and deriving insight and meaning and practical meaning as possible. So we should not limit our readings in any way. That is very, very, very problematic. So anyway, so now we've got the Kaaba. So all the blood cells make tawaf through the heart and around the heart region. So now you've got different parts of the body. Now when we would connect to, I will discuss in another video, the relationship between the menorah, the white menorah of Damascus, and the descent of Isa alayhi salam in another video soon, inshallah. But just consider that there are other ways. We have not even scratched the surface of how to read the Quran for depth, how to do close readings and derive maximum benefit from it. So I would argue there is much more to be revealed, and we are in the time of revealing right now. So much that has been long hidden is coming to light. So anyway, I'm praying that your readings of Quran will lead you to profound transformative insight, and that we will be rectified as an ummah and become merciful and compassionate and just, righteous, upstanding men and women. So, of excellence and beauty and dignity and integrity. Until next time, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.